Hello. Let's get this right. Is it right? I guess. So, welcome. Good morning. And today is Friday, August 27th, 7:05 a.m. I'm your Happy Healer lover, and this morning I'm doing it a little bit different. I want to come on a little bit earlier and do a morning show, maybe prior to the market, where we can just get set into the market, discuss a bit of everything, and some of the irony in my life, of course. I think it'll help better explain what exactly your Happy Healer is working for and why we are in the market at all on this end, because of the dream. And so it's important to talk about that dream sometimes. And also I feel that the good morning kind of aspect is something we could do on all of the channels, that it could be special for all the channels. And that I can come to you not every morning, but sporadically from market morning to market morning. So each market I've been coming on, which has been a pattern, and do some opening plays, help folks with opening plays, and that usually starts around 9 o'clock. And so the market gets going at a half an hour after that starts, so 9:30. And what I felt would be really useful is in that lead up, oftentimes I'm quite awake and eager to, speak to you guys, and just I feel sometimes that would be beneficial, and that you're my friend, and that we can talk about things leading up to the market that would be more powerful and help strengthen our community and the relationship I have with that community, because I'm a different guy. I have different beliefs. I often don't have to confront that reality. I live in my own world, and I'm a happy guy in my own world. And I'm able to live in the full spectrum of life, meaning there's a lot of people who do not live in that full spectrum, so they don't have as much at their fingertips in terms of their emotional, I would say, IQ. And there's a lot that goes with that when you're cutting a lot of that out. And so that's part of it's intelligence is part of your emotional IQ often, because you can fully express your world. In this life, we live within the forces, and everything is a force, including the emotional energies. And so to be able to navigate through those and understand them and have a well-being central within what is a safe level that many people don't have, that you're able to deal with things, that you don't become easily depressed. That's why it's really important to express yourself. Often that's what doctors prescribe, isn't it? And to make sure that you get the stimulus that you require. That's why it's important we have relationships grounded in love. And that's also the state of this world, why it kind of keeps many people out of that, out of that state. And so in this morning, whenever you see me come on in the morning, I'm not here to be political, or if a political topic may come up, I'll be honest. You can count on that. But it's never about hate. It's always about love. And it's really hard for a lot of people to accept that. So I ask you, let's really aim deep and let's try to have a commitment when we're here to being as different as your happy healer is. Because if we do that, then we can enjoy this time together, and we can actually have real moments together. And remember, people crave real moments. They're long sought after and very seldom actually felt. So remember that, and come along for the ride with your happy healer lover on this journey as we navigate the world. It's not easy, that's for sure. If this world had its way, it'd be taking us all of our essence as it sees it and converting it into bucks and selling it for profit. But that's just not what we're about. So yeah, we turn to the market so that we can try to make progress and live out those dreams. So again, that's where it began, and that's really where this morning rendezvous with you has begun with me. I was already in the market trying to make these moves that would help me do what's right for my goals and my ambition and my dreams for serving in this world. And it's as simple as that. They're really modest dreams, even though on the outset some people may think the exact opposite if they don't dig deep enough. But that's their problem if they don't dig deep enough, really, isn't it? Because I'm being very honest, and I'm also being complete. I'm actually explaining myself in full detail. What it really takes is time and understanding and a commitment yourself to the same things. And to start by, whenever you're giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, I think you should start by giving somebody your time and hearing them out in full. And at least that you feel you've got a good gist of what they're saying. Don't jump to conclusions. Let them tell you, and give them the time to do that, and award them more time as they go. And as you understand and can at least agree with and respect with what they're saying. And as long as all that is true, my friends, you should be giving people the benefit of the doubt. It shouldn't be about politics or any other, considerations. And that's how we're going to lose. And so that's not what I do. So good morning to you. This is the Good Morning Show. We will be talking, right now you can see to the side of my face, we have the AMC Ape. And that's because this is going to be leading into what ultimately will be the morning show for the stock market. And again, that typically gets going around 9 a.m. So no matter how long this lasts for, this will end and that'll begin. And I'll make a separation between the two, maybe. I think it depends on what we have going on, right? And I kind of like using this split screen because I can simply always just kind of, and I was just moving the picture around so you could see that's the phone. And I could always use that to show what I'm thinking about in the morning when I am doing this morning show, Good Morning with Your Happy Healer, and talk about whatever's on your mind, of course. That's always on the agenda because you matter so much to me. But also, and I'm just moving myself here now to the comments. There we go. Right, so it's just a modest thing, and I'll tell you one thing. The people that stick around with me on this, they will become smarter. And they'll be more in tune with the things that matter. And that comes free. And it's having a view of the world that is true and making your decisions on how you want to live through it. Makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of people that don't do that. They just, they don't live life. They let life happen to them. It's not really living life, and it's not. I couldn't live life like that. I know that we are here for a finite amount of time, that we can make that time better, and that if you see your loved ones and you're honest with yourself, their time is always becoming challenged, to put it nicely. I think all of our time is challenged, and that our challenge is to increase our time on this planet. Our experiences matter so much. These are just inalienable truths, that the sooner you come to these inalienable truths, endpoints where it doesn't get any different, they just matter. We matter. We have purpose and value. It helps you make other decisions more clearly. It defines the ground level. It sets the standard. In greed hell, there is no such standard. That's how you know it's wrong. And you hear me use the word greed hell often. I don't know. Some people don't follow me, so I want to be really clear about what greed hell is. Greed hell is the nature of how you survive in this world. And let me be more specific. Greed hell, and I wrote down here, and I said, it's the promise of success as it's played out in this world, right? Greed hell. It's the promise, right? Greed hell. The actual situation as people are promised, and as it plays out, and how it really is, and what it's actually saying, right? Stick with me here. Greed hell. Think about it. And it's actually in the wording, in every promise, from your parents to you as you're growing up. Son, daughter, you can do well in this world. You just have to get an education. And you have to save. You have to work so hard to be the best. And go to a good college. And you have to do everything right. What are they telling you? They're telling you how to succeed in this life. Because if you don't do those things, you just might be part of the class that die on the streets. And they'll tell you that sometimes too, won't they? Parents are quite honest with their children. They want them to survive in this world. And some children, they don't get that education quite so easily, so they discover that stuff on their own. And if you're a dreamer, you're in the class that's hurt the most, because you actually believe and have faith in other people. You weren't trained from such a young age to take that approach of being so steadfast in your own success in this world and the way it plays out. So there you are. That sums it up, from the poor to the rich, and how it's worked in between. And that promise, it's telling a story. And what does that story say? What is that promise about in the world of what? Greed hell. Think about it. Greed hell. You know not all people can succeed by the mere nature of the promise itself and the hope and its story it tells. It's a story of death, and we see that death everywhere. So if humanity itself, in a true sense of the word success, and it was out to achieve that success, what it would be out to do would be to empower those people, starting with those dreamers, the ones who want to be and do and experience the most, living on every spectrum of human experience, human love, human effort, ingenuity, dedication, honesty, integrity, never stopping, working incredibly hard for that dream. You want to empower those folks to live that dream. You don't want to take it from them. But in this world, they're told they're fools for dreaming. And that's what great hell is. That's what great hell is. Now, what do I dream about? What is your happy healer dream? Your happy healer lover dream? You know your happy healer lover has a dream. I know you know this, right? So what is that dream? And good morning if you're just joining us. It is 7:21 in the morning. Welcome. Good morning. Guten Tag auf Deutsch. In German. No matter where you hail from, good morning to you from your happy healer lover. It's always an exciting day for me. I'm always thinking about what good I can do and whom can I help with their understanding of the world today. And this moment, I have you in my crosshairs. And, what's my dream about? I dream about a world where hope is the normal, where people are all the time coming to their elders and seeking to learn about their experiences so they can better map their own experiences, and all fueled in helping humanity evolve into its better self, realizing the human value each one of us possess. Yes, that's my dream, and we're just getting started. What can I say? I am a dreamer. And I want to see people, elderly people, specifically, I want to see them respected and for the role that they play. They've been through so much. And I'm 42, and I would ask my elderly people in my life all the time about their experiences. I want to learn. And we learn a lot from each other. We learn sometimes what to do, and in some cases what not to do. Growing up, I myself learned a lot of what not to do. Through my experiences with my mom and dad. My mom was totally a lover. She loved her children so much. And I think that's common with all mothers and fathers. They love their children. And when you experience being a child in this world and you're coming outward into this world, that's really speaking to your experiences. Because those are your opening experiences. They're like the first call. They're like the open call, right? Like the start of your movie. And you have a movie. That's the thing. A lot of people don't accredit themselves to even having their own movie, or that they don't matter, that if they had a movie, surely it doesn't matter. But it does. And that you are the person who makes it what it is, and that you matter. So make sure that you're serving to real human value, real purpose, making a difference in people's lives, because otherwise you won't matter. And that's what money tends to do. So I'm never making a war against human ability or even against material wealth. I want to bring and see us, let's put it like this. I want to see us live in abundance. I want to see us experience the world that knows what its value is, works to experience it, realizing that the experiences of people are ultimately our mission. To brighten those experiences are to step into the light. And that is the measure of our ability to come out of the dark. The rich people who are experiencing better, more empowerment with their options per se, in a world where many are left without choice, are alone in those options. So it's not even that fun for them. Sure, they're alone doing things. I guess some of them, I don't know how they do it in some cases, because me, I am very sad. Like, I realize that there's a lot of people that we could be doing so much better. I know it. And so when I'm in a predicament where I feel like I'm living so much better than other people, it makes me feel like, in a way, like I'm doing it too easy. Like there's no meaning to it. Like that's not what my spirit came here to do. No. And that's the way I see it. I see it as that I chose to be here. And so I better get real about that mission. I better get real about that purpose. And so that's where I come from, and that's what I teach about. And that's the perspective from which I teach. I know who I am. I'm the spirit on the inside. I never get confused about that. And it's from that place that I speak on everything. When I was younger, and I do mean like a boy, generally speaking, I have a lot of memories from when I was, 8, 6, 5, 7, and later too. I was a thinker pretty much my entire life, ever since I could remember the difference between thinking and trying to make the sense of my world and shapes. And where we found ourselves, it's like this energy kapoomed into this being. And you're like, you don't even know how to make sense of everything. You breathe your first breath of fresh air, right? But your body clock is working, sure. But you're just arrived in a lot of ways. Or the world opened up to you. It's been opening up, right? There's a transition that takes place from the soul world, or from the spirit world of energy, or as it's impacted and experienced in this world. I mean, there's got to be. That's like a crazy experience from the point, if you think about it, from the point of first breath and first eye opening, right? Like, there's a huge event happening there. Just like there is here right now. We have some rain coming in this morning. It's a wonderful day. Good morning to you. I am your HappyHealer lover. Today we have a wonderful day. And when you're working with the truth, it's hard to work with something other than the truth. And that's really important to know that. So that dream, I want to see all dreamers empowered. I want to see people happy, doing things that they're like passionate about. In large communities built around everything. Right now you lack a lot of communities around things because people are too busy working. And when they're not working, they're refueling their bodies. And it allows them to keep focused on something other than that human responsibility to one another in the ways that we expand outward and help and grow each other. So I want to see that. We have the internet, but we still don't have that. We have the ability. We still don't have that. It would naturally occur and is even trying to. But people are purposefully, by this world of greed, how I talk about, kept in their thankless positions and brain screwed to believe that's the best they could do. But it's not true. It's a damn lie. The best you could do is so much more. You can do what you've always dreamed about deep down. You're always told in this life you can't. And guess what? It's always auto. But just by making a difference in someone else's life and having them value your experiences is such a heartfelt experience. And that's why I say it's so important to be among all of the emotional experiences, because they give you a feeling that makes you feel better about life. Turns out if you do it right and you do love right, being selfless is being selfish. And that's when you know you've hit a good place in humanity. It is raining like hell around here. Oh yeah. I could survive wherever God needs me and just feel fine doing the work I've got to do. And to me, I love, like my father worked in construction and he built homes. That was such a useful thing for people. Think about it. It's a place to live for such a long time, not just for one family, but for many families, building homes from the foundation up. Everything from the electrical. I mean, he was good at all that stuff. And he was artistic in his building skills as well. He would work with marble and really decorative building materials. And so my father was good at that, and he would be able to build. He would do the plans and everything. He was good at drawing plans out. Which all of that is each one of those things are a different discipline. And overall, my father was an engineer. He enjoyed engineering the solutions to problems, although he was always limited in what he was allowed to do based on how much he can get his hands on, based on how much that kind of work was appreciated, based on how abundant our world is with its resources and its capabilities. America is left suffocating right now. It could do so much better if you could put to work all of those dreams like my father. He was a builder, he was a creator, he was a problem solver. When he got to do those things, he was happy and on top of the world. But when the world took that from him, he was an abusive man to his family. Two different versions of my father, same guy. Wisdom is taught in that. And everything in greed hell is about waiting. Don't get me wrong, being patient is good. Patience is really good. We have to learn more about being patient in this life. Being patient helps you get by. And by the way, patience itself is an activity of those who have the luxury of time. Patience itself allows you the luxury of waiting. Waiting isn't just a good thing or giving you patience, and that patience itself is a virtue. But that the virtue is only a virtue when it pays off, when it's good for the human soul. Otherwise, it can become a detriment and yet be attributed to being patient. Should one be patient when it comes to their heart health? It might not be convenient right now to take on that task. Do you see how patience can really start to screw with longevity? They're tied in together a bit. The longer you have to be patient on things you need now, the less longevity you have. It goes back to that original promise in this world. You can succeed, but only if you do this. You run from your dreams and you learn how to be a good slave. And by the way, outside of that slavery, you can have a pretty good life. You might not do the things that you intended to do or dreamed about doing, but the things that you do, you'll make an impact on, you'll find a life in, you'll find friends there. That stuff can take on meaning too. In fact, it could drown you to the point where you don't even think about previous dreams at all. You lose complete connection with anything that was here. And yet you're accepting less when you do that. And you're accepting death in the streets because people are dying, because they're living out their dreams and it didn't work out. You see, and that's what greed hell gives a lot of. That's how you know you're living in greed hell. Where when I learned about, going back to being a boy, when I learned about God, one of the first things I learned is God is love. And everybody intuitively knows what love is. It's a unique feeling itself. It's a force. It draws you to people that you care about. You know, it's automatic in nature, but also a choice. It's a power, that means. Because when someone you love is hurt, you feel for them immediately. But also, you can choose to love. So, you equate life with love. And you see that that is a force that's most powerful. And it combines an aspect of, like, almost like gravity. Those who use it are drawn together. And they're unified. It's a unity force. And so it pays to know what these forces are. Because It's what's taken from us. It is. The outward love as a unified nation. I was just hearing somebody who was talking in terms of before, the year 2000. It's almost like when things got lit up. I would say the age of when things got lit up. Before we were lit up, things were darker. You didn't know what people were doing on the other side of the world. Almost intuitively, you start to know what they're doing nowadays. Things are more lit up. People are on their social media. They're expressing themselves in ways where before, if you did that, you would be a dork, whereas now you're appreciated for your differences. The world is changing, naturally going down this path of what I like to call, anytime that you're respecting more of you, the full spectrum of who you are meant to be, is more freedom. It's more freedom, and it's more love for yourself. It's more of you coming into your full experience. You cannot have full experiences until you do. So there's some people who might not be able to relate with you and your experiences, and they might see something you're doing, and it might intrigue them, because while they might feel something from it, they don't necessarily relate with it. And that's when that person is experiencing an expansive feeling, like the world is growing larger on them. And that's good. Some people, they run from that, though. And they don't know how to stick with that. They think that their world is already large enough and that it doesn't need to get more complicated. But the world is not better when it's less. You are not more in tune with a simpler world being a wholer being. It doesn't work like that. It's the exact opposite. You're being suffocated, unable to breathe, not being given freedom. And so that's what you tend to see a lot in greed hell, is you see the upside down world in effect. You see the perversion. I like to talk about it's a perversion. What's good is bad, what's bad is good. And you see a lot of that. And, and then again, it goes right into what's bad is good and what's good is bad. The fix is, instead of finding this better world, what we're all worthy to, people are ready to pound each other's heads in. What's bad is good, what's good is bad. It doesn't ever find a way. What I say is greed hell is about checkmating humanity. When I started realizing this stuff, it was like, wow. And the people don't even know it. And they're locked into this back and forth, like never-ending hell that ends going off a cliff for humanity. We've already experienced such a time. I call it the Dark Ages. Well, we all call it the Dark Ages, as it turns out, because it was the Dark Ages. And, we don't need a Dark Ages. We need more light in our lives. Not less light, more light. And more love, and more care. I just want to see it happen. And if not happen, I want to know I did my hardest trying. And that's it for me. It doesn't have to be cool. I was never a cool kid anyway. It doesn't matter to me. I'm more of like a nerd who can figure shit out, that doesn't appeal to me. If being cool is to me being dumb, then I don't want to be cool. I just want to be right. I want to get it right. Because people matter and people are dying. And, I feel the pain too. I'm not going to say I don't feel the pain. And if I'm 42, and I'll show you pictures and I'll get into more of that stuff later. But I'd work out. I have a fit body, like a bodybuilder, like Men's Fitness magazine. And, it was just taking care of yourself. It mattered to me when, all throughout my life, and knowing how important it is tells me how important it is for other people. And the older I get, the more I recognize the value, and that it wasn't about chasing money. I thought that at a point, right? And I thought, oh, if I could only own more, if I could only make more, then, man, imagine what I can do for my family. But what I started recognizing is, no matter how much you make, in order to really solve the problems that greed causes, you would need an infinitely more amount. And there would never be room for other people. And no matter how well off you are, you can't afford to be of a giving nature, because that's going backwards, and it's doing for people who would never do for you. The truth tells you that in greed hell. People don't matter. You matter. But that's wrong. And essentially growing up and realizing through this life how wrong that is also tells me how wrong people get it. And it's killing everything. It's such a fearful force. It keeps people killing themselves and thinking that it's life they're getting, because they're doubting everybody. But you see, you don't get the strongest force doing that. You'll never get it. The strongest force goes back to that unified love. It's what groups of people together can accomplish. It's not about what one person can ever do. And it turns out, anything we've ever done that was worthwhile and that was good was done because of unified effort, unity, love. And by the way, when you have times of attack, you get this, like times of strife, times of hard, they're unifying moments, because they're all together, and suddenly at once our fate is combined into one action and one effort, and it'll save all of our lives. And when life gets to a point like that, it's so easy on what we're supposed to do, and so we do it suddenly. We've seen it in World War I. America became the great hub of production. It built the machinery and the mechanisms, the guns and the ammunition. It built everything. The ordinances of World War II. Without that, Hitler was the one building everything. But when America got going, it was using its interest in self and survival. And it was coming together based on that love. Women were going into the workforce. When Hitler was doing it, it was expanding outwards. It was about offensive capacity. They weren't even using their factories 24/7 at that point. They weren't in a total war economy, where America was in a total war economy. And people were totally invested into that because they were coming together. In our current times, we have no such superpower. All we have is everybody knowing that they're right, and that actually challenging what is right doesn't matter. Just getting my way does. So it's a results-oriented atmosphere where the results themselves are pitfalls, keeping what we really should be capable of from us without recognizing that our capacity to think our way out of this situation is our strongest gift. People act based on their most elementary and fundamental beliefs of the world and how they've been taught their whole lives. If you work thinking like this, you go to this school, you you achieve this standard, you move to the next one. It keeps you locked into a way of thinking that'll never allow you to fully understand human value, unless you also change your thinking and say it's time for advancement, because you're smart and we're all capable of changing and evolving, except for one problem there. As you've gained status and ability in a world that has its values gone wrong, you are making status quo in that world. You are building a status quo. Your fear tells you that by going towards another world, it gives somebody else the status you worked for, and that you don't want that. That's expanding out and recognizing their natural human value, whereas now you're saying, I'm better than them. So it's a challenge. And I say challenge yourselves if you want to survive. All people matter. Knock that shit off. Time now is 7:51 a.m. It is a happy good morning with your happy healer lover. And since we're getting closer to the market opening, we'll talk a little bit about that. Good morning, Ryan. That's right. You know what I mean, my man. And I know you've been having it tough too. Maybe today we'll get some good luck going for us in the market. You know what I mean? Where it won't be so dreadful. I mean, the promise is there, but that's all it turned out to be. It was a promise. And that's what greed hell is filled with, broken promises. And these stories, they get really deep, but they tell you about life, man. No matter how much you want to lie to yourself, this is the real life as it's playing out. You have no idea the childhood that everyone else around you have had or are currently having, because you don't involve yourself in it. It doesn't matter. What other people are doing isn't your business. That's a lie, actually. Other people matter to you so much. And, you often hear about privacy being lumped in with freedom. Freedom and privacy have nothing to do with one another. Just think about that. I want you to really challenge yourself to think about how freedom needs privacy, or how privacy needs freedom. Actually, privacy is where all the corruption happens. I know that sounds pretty foreign to how people generally think of privacy. They want their privacy, but it's where all the bad shit happens. And then it's also where the bad expectations are made of people. You can't keep things real. You can't have real progress. In some ways, I do see that as being true. And it turns out that everybody's doing the same shit anyway. Privacy is overrated. I think freedom is undervalued. People are undervalued. I think that privacy can take your freedom. Ultimately. I think there's a fine line. I think people should have, especially, it's kind of like the difference between being someone who's like, total nudist, right? Versus somebody who wears their Sunday best every day. Like, they're not going to be in the same thinking when it comes to that. One is going to appear a lot more prudent than the other. There's a transition at every level in between. And the same is true for all this stuff. And that's why the energies, they're so complicated. And everything in the human energies matter. All this stuff matters. So privacy and freedom, while they are rated very high among humanity as things that matter, I think freedom is not aligned. In other words, freedom and privacy don't move together. It could be that when freedom moves this way, privacy moves this way. You get what I'm saying? In the energies. And you kind of have to see the energies, or it's really hard to make sense of what's best for people. And lies are easily told. You want to live the best life you can. Privacy wants to keep profit away from you. It wants to keep education away from you so that it can monopolize just for itself the best way of doing things. Now all other humanity doesn't get the benefit from it, right? These are the things we get out of privacy. The right for you to succeed while the others don't. I just don't see that as a benefit. I'm trying to think in what world that makes sense. In a greedy world, it makes perfect sense. You get what's yours. But in a world that's best for humanity, that don't make sense. Because what's best for humanity is that you empower that unified effort to get big things done. That's what's best for humanity. So I'll never see it as being, oh yeah, just empower a few people here and there and leave the rest of them to die. And those few, by the way, they're barely going to be alive themselves, but they won't know the difference because they're going to have to live within that small spectrum of life where they can find happiness, and they'll have to ignore so much else, because if they ever tried to live in this spectrum of love, they would die from all the misery of their fellow compatriots. Give me a break. That is not living at large. If that's living at large, I mean, that's like the definition of hell. Having the advantage of being cozy watching your brothers die. Like, what the hell is that? Like I said, this world it's a perfect perversion of what it should be. And if you want to know what does it and you look at the world through energies and facts, the fact of the matter is greed does it. This world is not ready to accept that, though. And so there's a lot of people who, I mean, it leaves me dumbfounded. What was the expectation there? We better start learning to do things right and better. We could do way better than we do, right? Oh yeah. But that's because we become lost. We don't even have a unified goal. If we did, I assure you, these young people who are all, buttercupped up, ready to rock and roll, do whatever it takes to succeed, if they knew that was their goal, they'd be powering this mission. You better believe it. We've got a good people. I believe in them. They're just wound up wrong right now. But I also know that if we don't get away from greed, it's going to take us off that cliff soon. You could see more and more and more of how it's splitting up. And it's getting greedy. It's pushing too hard. It's taking its victory too hard. And it's making the world even more unbearable in so many ways. And it's about to crack. And so I really see love is taking over soon. I think that's the future. And I think it's our job to constantly contrast and compare the two. Don't let anyone we're around not realize the difference between how it could be in a loving world, the world they say is fake and not possible. The world, because they're all mocking devils. They're afraid to admit it, because what that means for the lives they've been living. That, in other words, they're not perfect. You never had to be perfect. None of us do. We just have to be lovers. So instead of realizing your perfection, all you did was make sure that you are flawed in your part of seeing everyone else being flawed. And that trying to be the best in a flawed people and pointing to yourself as being perfect. This is a greedy way of thinking. We don't need that. We need more to be our brother's keeper, to realize that the outcome of other people mattered to us, as it does, and we show that in times like Afghanistan and big heart issues. It's just that we ignore it most other times. We care when it's too late. We're good at that. We're very good at caring once it's too late. That's not the time to care. That's why I say, don't wait until you're on a deathbed to start caring. That sure is not the time to start caring. And now patience. How do you get patience? Patience will help you in the stock market. It's by getting a passion. Something you care about more than money or just sitting there in front of a screen. Because that's what you're lacking. It's what happens. Gamblers make gambling their passion. This crap here can become that. Even with me. When is the right time to walk away? Well, geez, I would have been better doing that at many different times than now. Right now, I need a royal flush today. You know what I mean? How many people find themselves needing a royal flush today? Might not be that off, but you know what I mean. AMC can run today, it really can. But it can do the same shit it did yesterday. And what good is that? And then at last minute, fate would have it, you fall asleep. Because there's a good chance I would have sold some of that yesterday to make sure I have money today coming into the market, and the choice of maybe even, pulling it out or doing something else with it. Like, we don't have that choice it's just keeping it real, right? If we let the market take our money, then we're broke. Well, in this case, I took out $1,150, but, my bank account was withdrawn a little bit, and I had to pay this and that. Money goes quick, doesn't it? And so, that's what takes our dreams away from us, that fear of money. So, and that fear of not being able to meet your obligations. So, my vision for the world is definitely an income for all, because it doesn't matter once you have an income for all, you don't need to save $1 billion. Just have faith in your world and provide value to it as best you can. Keep that world serving you. And rely on the free markets. That sounds like to some people they would say, oh, that's socialism, because that has some of the markings. But that's not it's not that. It's relying on the free markets are capable of doing this. As we transition into a robotic economy built by artificial intelligence, it's going to be our only way to survive. So we have to start thinking about stepping up into this new place. If we don't incorporate human value, there's going to be no reason for humanity, not even to its own self. So many people think they get their value from their pointless jobs. No, man, you've got value that goes deep. Goes so deep. And I always say to people, we can have it better when we do better. Well, I just started doing better. What do you mean? No, you're not listening. That us, all, we can have it better when we, together, do it better. That's a together thing. Then we have it better. We don't get to have it better until we all do it better together. So the only thing our only hope then, is to talk about the truth of our love, to bring that force of unity into action, to change our fate, our trajectory of going off the cliff into a dark ages, not capable of sustaining the kind of human mouths to feed we have on this earth. Going there so recklessly, it'll be so obvious after the fact of how reckless it was, going straight off that cliff. But yet, every day going in that direction, not changing course. That's the insanity that we're dealing with. And the name of that insanity is greed hell. You can't fix the problem by doing the same thing that caused it. That's why the true value is not money. Yeah, money is a tool. And unfortunately, in the way greed hell does things, it runs the world and always reaffirms how important money is and how little important, how almost lacking all value humanity is, and that people tend to take up the value of their money, and their money becomes their essence. I've learned this over time, and you see that's true. When people lose their money, they jump off bridges and commit suicide and all this crazy stuff. And that's insanity. I learned it because people who say they love God then turn to their money. And they tell me that, and I've learned very close friends tell me that their essence is in their money. It's wrapped up in that their work over time has been their money in the bank and or saved, or their investments. It adds up over time, and after 30, 40, 50 years of doing this, you have this sum of money that represents the total summation of your value. And I say that's when you went the way of Satan. That is the sin. That's the almighty sin, because you took the value that God put into us, each one of us, and you replaced it with that money, and you did it in yourself. And when that money went gone, because this world could never promise, it's never capable of making that promise to you, and when it disappears, then the only thing left you have to do is to jump off a bridge, because that's not the world you reckon with, but it's the world that always was. You were the one that were kidding yourself. And so when the promise was broke, that's because it was never there in the first place. When we think we're saving today for the next 100 years of retirement, and those are the good times, that's a lie. The real truth is, us humanity today, reap today that which we work for today and build a better world for tomorrow. And when we take out of today and expect that to work for us in some indeterminate amount of time, what we're doing is taking ability from today, taking that proprietary value that belonged working for the moment, and that could have solved more issues, building a better tomorrow, that in a week from now, in a month from now, in a year from now, the trajectory of having always reinvested, building that powerful human conglomerate would build a better world for all. But we don't do that. We constantly take out of that and think it's going to be there for the future. But when we destroy what we have, that becomes less too. So what are we destroying? We're destroying human potential. Human potential is our ability to go the full measure. And instead of going the full measure, we go quarter measures. Just little quarter measures. And then taking that success and putting it aside just for certain people. And that the masses are dying away. That's what's happening. And that's a hard thing for people to understand. And so it's about understanding it to live a better world, to have a better world and live a better life. I mean, I think the thing that drives confusion and The thing that drives depression is confusion. When you know what you're working for, you're not in that state wondering what your value is. Or if you have value. And that you know you've got value. It's already 8:10, so we're going to be working on getting the other show going soon. I'll tell you what, my Coinbase today is coming back a bit. That's recent times. But you notice how this stays consistently doing well? Because it'd be the same way with buying stocks. Because your investments ultimately are subject, when they're these options, these derivative contracts, they can really lose their value very quickly. And if they don't go the way you want to go, and you're holding out for them to turn around, with a stock, hodling means holding value until it comes back. When you hodl a contract, it could mean staying in it until you're gone. The rules change. So it is smart to sell your contracts at points. Although I didn't, and so I have that chance also of coming completely back in the game. And remember, yesterday in the morning, before the afternoon, I think, we went into the $41 and change price on AMC. And when we did that, it ended up going a bit higher. So today it could do anything. And, the more it compresses, I've also seen, is the more it's free to go higher also. And remember on Tuesday, was it? Today is Friday now. On Tuesday when it rocketed, that was Tuesday, yeah, because we had Wednesday and Thursday in between. And so on Tuesday when it rocketed, that was not expected by many people. It seemed like it just came from nowhere. Shockingly, I was on it by $37. I was already even earlier in the day I was on it at one point. I don't know why I felt so certain. And that's what I have, this good sense about things. And I do live life in the energies, and so it doesn't mean it has to be right though. And these are really it's hard. I've already timed the market. That's over. Now it's kind of like other energies have brought me into this place I'm at now. Maybe realizing that victory is so close, like this dynamic between effort and victory, and having made that effort and sticking it out through victory. But that can also bury you quick. However, it's been the thing that saved many people before and brought them back to really high highs. Remember, investors look silly when the moves they take do not net them benefit. But the moment it nets them benefit, let alone great benefit, they start looking like, the rock stars. The truth is, the market is quite random. And in that quite random world, the things you could take out of it are, the market is a reflection of what people think, summed into their actions. So it's like not just what they thought, but what they thought and acted upon, and the result of that, based on what in greed hell is called their value. They're using their real value, like their essence, not just like a monetary value. And so now you have all this on the market, and people tend to start expressing themselves with this value, and what you see is that their expression is broken. They're all over the place. If we had a clear expectation of how companies should be working for us and how to reward those companies, and that all people were investing in the market and we didn't have these short sellers destroying it, I think we'd constantly be going up. And that the derivatives market might not matter, might not even exist, because it's a speculation market based on the ups and downs. Like, what we would have is just consistent profit, consistent progress, and the market would be a pretty for sure bet that it's going up. And that would be a healthy way to do things, unlike the way we do them now. Would you rather have a market that always goes up pretty strong, like a growth stock, quite often? Or would you rather have the market the way we have it now, but with derivatives, this side betting market casino that's just more extreme than the regular market? And it gives you time limits, but you can make a lot more money. See, those are the trade-offs we're forced to make in greed hell. I'd rather take the for sure bet and say, let's enter into the new world and start putting our, everybody should be empowered now to start working on these dreams to build this better tomorrow. We should start having a recognition of what that tomorrow looks like and letting people use their talents to help build it. It's a no-brainer. I mean, there's all kinds of dreams to chase. Like me, I've learned to be a pilot. That's fun. Learned to fly. I had my own Cessna 182T turbo plane. I mean, to some people that's a status thing. Oh, I've got my own plane. I never thought of it like that. I mean, when I also had money too, I was dealing with addiction, and that was painful. There's nowhere really to get help. That's why I remember going through that, Afterwards, it was a lot. I figured a lot of stuff out, but during that time, it was like there's nowhere to go to get help. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and let this one end, and I'll come back on at about 9. Maybe 9:30. We don't have a whole lot going on this morning. Everything is... I didn't look at the stocks at all yet, so we can just do a preliminary look on that. So the pre-market's bringing us below 40. That's not good. Moderna's a little bit up in a pre-market. GameStop is showing out a lot stronger than AMC lately. Regeneron is just what it is. Who knows, we might get busy today. Have a good day, who knows. Very light volume. I mean, that hardly decides the market price. And a lot of times when the market price is reflecting downward, and that has upward momentum on the price. And the exact opposite happens in some cases too. All right, I'm going to end it there, and I'll see you guys back here at 9 or 9:30. Much love.